After the smoke cleared in Almaty, the silence around Celtic Football Club felt heavier than the defeat itself. Kairat had knocked them out before the season had even properly begun. On the touchline, Brendan Rodgers stood still. No anger, no gestures, just a look that said everything had already started to unravel. Days later, Rodgers faced the media. Sharp, but strained. "I feel empty." He spoke about recruitment, broken promises, a squad that wasn't ready, standards slipping. It didn't sound like excuses. It sounded like a warning. Fans reacted instantly. Back the manager. Sack the board. Banners rose. Tension grew. And inside the club, the leaks began. Stories of arguments behind closed doors. Signings Rodgers didn't want. A growing disconnect between the dugout and the boardroom. Then Rodgers hit back. A cowardly action. The leak, he said, had come from inside. Now it wasn't tension anymore. It was war. Every match after that carried weight. Wins felt uneasy. Draws felt like failure. Defeats felt inevitable. At Celtic Park, the atmosphere changed. Not united, not defiant, divided. Rodgers stood on the touchline, increasingly alone, backed loudly by supporters, but drifting further away from those above him. The season stopped being about football. It became about control. The breaking point came after defeat to Hearts. And then it happened. Brendan Rodgers resigned.
First, though, to Celtic, and huge drama involving the Scottish champions. Brendan Rodgers has resigned after 2 years in charge before an astonishing attack from the club's largest shareholder, Dermot Desmond.
No farewell, no long goodbye, just a statement. And silence. A season that began with hope, collapsed under pressure, and then, after he was gone, the board spoke. Dermot Desmond broke his silence. What followed shocked supporters. Divisive, misleading, self-serving. A brutal assessment of the man who had just walked away. Desmond claimed the failure of the season wasn't down to structure, wasn't down to recruitment, but down to one individual. The manager was gone, but the damage remained. And across Celtic Park, one question lingered. Who really broke the season? The man on the touchline, or the people behind the door? The silence didn't last long, because then came a return nobody expected.
Martin, you've answered the call, quite literally, once again, and will take charge of Celtic until the end of the season.
Martin O'Neill was back, not as a long-term answer, but as a steady hand, interim manager. Alongside him, Sean Maloney. And just like that, belief flickered again. The reaction was instant. Cheers, chants, banners, fans who had been angry for months suddenly had something to hold on to. Love for O'Neill poured out from the stands, a reminder of better days. And for a moment, the noise around Celtic changed. On the pitch, things steadied. A hard-fought win at home. A draw away that showed resilience. Another narrow victory, built on organisation, not chaos. Nothing spectacular, but something important. Control. O'Neill didn't fix everything, but he stopped the fall. Off the pitch, the anger hadn't gone. At the AGM, tensions boiled over. Supporters confronted the board, voices raised, accusations thrown, the divide in the club. Still raw, still unresolved, O'Neill stayed calm through it all, focused only on the team, buying time, while the search went on. And then, the decision came. The new manager was announced, Wilfried Nancy.
James Forrest. James, nice to meet you. All right. Okay. Yeah, all good.
A bold appointment, a different direction, a new era, beginning under pressure. O'Neill stepped aside. The fans applauded him one last time, because in the middle of chaos, he had brought back a sense of Celtic, even if only for a while. The new era didn't last. Wilfried Nancy arrived with ideas, complex tactics, detailed systems, but confusion followed. Players spoke about overcomplicated instructions. Fans questioned what they were watching. Then came the moments that stuck. A tactics board, held up on the touchline, trying to explain chaos in real time. And worse, questions over whether he even knew who James Forrest was. For many, it summed it up. Disconnected, out of place, results dipped, performances drifted, and just as quickly as it began, it ended. Nancy was gone, and once again, Celtic turned back. Martin O'Neill returned, stepping in for the rest of the season, a familiar face, in an all too familiar situation. For the second time in one season, Martin O'Neill was back. Celtic had already gone through 2 permanent managers. Brendan Rodgers, gone. Wilfred Nancy, gone. And now it was left to O'Neill to steady it again. Off the pitch, the protests only grew louder. Anger at the board, banners, chants, pressure building with every week. But on the pitch, O'Neill focused on one thing: keeping the team alive. European nights brought something different. Big performances, big wins. For a moment, it felt like the old days again. The spirit, the fight, the belief. But in the league, it was a different story. Draws that felt like defeats, losses that couldn't be afforded. And slowly, Celtic began to drift behind Heart of Midlothian FC at the top, the title slipping away. Yet somehow, O'Neill kept them in it, grinding out results when it mattered, dragging the team to the split, still in the race, still breathing. And then something changed. The protests didn't disappear, but they quietened because the fans made a choice to back the team, to back O'Neill. One final push, one last run, together. The split arrived, and Celtic were still there, not favourites, not in control, but still fighting. Martin O'Neill had dragged them this far. Now, it was about belief. Game by game, Celtic held their nerve. Big performances, crucial goals, points gained, when there was no margin for error. And slowly, the gap closed, until it came down to one final day. Celtic against Heart of Midlothian FC. Winner takes the title. At Celtic Park, the atmosphere was different. No protests, no division, just noise, just belief, just one voice. The game began with tension, every pass heavy, every moment huge. Then, the blow. Hearts scored first. Silence. Shock. Doubt creeping in. But this team didn't fold. They responded. An equaliser. Belief returned. Then, the turning point. Celtic took the lead, and as Hearts pushed, space opened. One final goal. 3-1. Celtic had done it. From chaos to champions. From collapse to glory. And in the middle of it all, Martin O'Neill. Fans flooded onto the pitch, celebrating with the players. The emotion, too much to hold back. Their hero had taken one of the worst seasons in the club's history and turned it into something unforgettable. A show of courage, a show of belief. But it wasn't over yet. One more prize remained, a double to secure, against Neil Lennon's Dunfermline Athletic FC. The celebrations didn't last, because within days, the noise returned, this time from the media. Headlines out of Slough, accusations aimed at Celtic and the SFA, claims of bias, claims of favouritism, even whispers of cheating. The narrative shifted, from champions to controversy. And at the centre of it, Martin O'Neill. His character questioned, his integrity attacked. A man who had lifted the club, now dragged into the storm. Pundits, papers, voices growing louder, and anyone but Celtic feeling, spreading fast. But inside the club, the message stayed the same. Ignore the noise, because they had one more job to do. One last hurdle, one last chance to make it complete. Celtic against Dunfermline Athletic FC, the Scottish Cup, the chance for a double. And when it mattered most, they delivered. Celtic won, the cup was theirs, a domestic double secured, against the odds. No backing in the transfer window. A fractured relationship between fans and the board. A squad many had written off as one of the weakest in years. And outside the club, it felt like everyone was against them. But through it all, one man held it together. Martin O'Neill. He had taken a nightmare and turned it into a fairy tale. His name was already written in Celtic history. Now, there was no debate. Legend status, secured. As the players walked the pitch, lifting the trophies, the fans sang his name, louder and louder, a lap of honour filled with emotion, and one question beginning to grow. Will he be offered the job full time? We'll find out soon enough. But for now, here's Sean Maloney speaking about Martin O'Neill's legacy at Celtic.
But that's what Martin does. He leads, he lets people do what they're good at, and there is no doubt that we would not have got anywhere close to this title without Martin. We can all be quite good coaches, we can all think that we have an idea in certain games tactically, it's irrelevant. If we didn't have Martin basically bringing a club together, and there was a separation with big parts of our club. If we didn't have Martin, we would have been nowhere near this title, and he's in our club. It's obviously Jock, and that group of players sits above everyone. I think Martin's about as close as anyone will ever get to that group.